Guys, Lost Records Bloomin' Rage is finally out, and oh my god, is there so much to talk about. Thank you so much to Don't Nod for reaching out to me and providing me with an early access copy for review. The last few days have been some of the happiest I've had in a while, and I can't wait to quite literally dive into the details. I covered this game for over a year. I read every interview, every news article, kept up with all the latest updates, wrote theories, reported on everything to you guys, and still, none of it did the game justice. Lost Records Bloomin' Rage was my most anticipated game of 2025, and yes, it was worth the wait. Yes, it's a love letter to fans. And no, this isn't the next Life is Strange, and I mean that in the best way possible. I only had a week to play and get something up, and honestly, I don't think a few days is enough time to review this game in a way that does it justice. So for now, I'll be sharing my spoiler-free first impressions with you all, my initial thoughts, what I think of the game, showcase the characters you meet, and hopefully answer some of the most burning questions that we've all had for over a year. Alright, let's get into it. The one word that kept coming to mind while playing Lost Records was authenticity. The game is brimming with so much life, so much authentic beauty that it didn't take me long at all before I became enamored by Velvet Cove. The environments are visually stunning, and for myself and many other fans of Don't Nod's previous games, it's in the silent storytelling that the magic truly happens. With Lost Records being published in-house, it feels like the studio was able to prioritize what inspired them most as creatives. Every location is so wonderfully detailed, guys. So much to where I was actually shocked when I finally got to explore. The environments in Lost Records aren't just set dressing, but reflect Don't Nod's talent of masterful world building at crafting curated spaces that feel lived in and true to those who frequent them. Let's take Swann's bedroom for example, one of the first locations you get to poke around in. The game never outright tells you who Swann is, and it doesn't have to. Her interests and disinterests, adventures and misadventures are realized everywhere you look. Her hobbies reflected in the movie posters on the wall, her frustrations in the crumpled flyers on the floor, disorganized books, scattered tapes, loose notes, crooked drawers, and retro toys all reflect the chaos and unpolished character of a teenager's bedroom in the 90s. Vibrant palettes and Don't Nod's signature use of warm, nostalgic lighting lean into the era further, and never once did anything feel shoehorned, forced, or anachronic. You can tell that everything you see comes from lived experience, past memories of adolescence, and the specific longing, quirks, and growing pains that come with it. I was so impressed by the environments that I plan to do a separate video going over the locations, the beauty of the assets, and all the details in them. Everything is just so detailed, and this doesn't just apply to our protagonist's bedroom. Just like Arcadia Bay, Velvet Cove feels like part of the cast, a living, breathing character, a small Michigan town that existed long before we arrived. The town is shaped by its residents, a product of those who live in it. Favorite landmarks like the Blue Spruce possess both intimacy and grit. You can see it on the wooden steps leading up to the bar, the muddied floor mat where patrons clean their boots after a long day. There's abandoned cigarettes on windowsills, discarded masks, stray bottles, warm faces, and messy, worn counters. Hunting imagery reinforces the town's rural identity, and the surrounding woodlands are some of the most beautiful I've seen in any game. I had so much fun exploring them, seeing all of the animals, and falling in love with Swann's favorite trails that I found myself lingering just to admire the canopies, hang out with frogs, chase after squirrels, and record some really jaw-dropping moments on Swann's camcorder, which is the highlight of my next point. Lost Records is a narrative exploration game through and through, but it's far from a walking simulator. One of the main complaints that I saw about Life is Strange 2 was that it felt like you were put in the back seat. You weren't the one with the power, so some players didn't feel as connected to the story. But this issue is completely rectified by Swann's camcorder. Don't Nod has moved away from superpowers and instead embraces a branching narrative that thrives on interactivity. Swann loves to film the world around her, and like our favorite time traveler, she's happiest looking through a viewfinder, capturing small moments of the everyday and mundane. I knew that the camcorder would be a cool part of the game, but I severely underestimated how much I would adore using this thing. This isn't just point, click, and be done with it. You can literally film whoever, however, and whenever you want. Outside of filming memoirs, which are the scenes scenes that move the story forward. There is so much freedom with what you can do, and my favorite part of the entire experience was filming, zooming in on details, and capturing different scenery and fun moments on tape. The game constantly rewards players for their curiosity. I had the biggest smile on my face when I randomly decided to film Swann's cat, Pumpkin, and unlocked an entirely new memoir I could have missed. Or when recording cool graffiti at the movie palace turned into an Easter egg hunt all over town.
There's so much here.
Fuck. The camcorder doesn't feel like a last-minute addition thrown in like busy work, and instead complements each scene. I can't stress enough how integral it was to my playthrough. Filming flows seamlessly into gameplay. I was actually whipping this thing out at every opportunity and felt frustrated whenever I couldn't. I previously thought I would miss powers if they weren't in this game, but because of how awesome the camcorder is, I didn't find myself thinking about the powers at all until reflecting back on my experience. You might be surprised at how much you uncover by taking the time to slow down and really engage with it. Guys, I literally spent 2 hours just looking around Swann's bedroom because I just kept discovering new things. I was pleasantly surprised to see how much the devs thought ahead, how Swann would suggest new things to do when pointing at random objects, and how we get to hear her ideas played back through narrated clips. The camcorder is an extension of Swann. The world will react to the things you choose to do with it. Some characters might not take too kindly to being put on the spot, while others may bask in the attention.
The camera loves me.
This kind of responsiveness is what made Lost Records stand out to me as a franchise that completely surpasses the previous one in this regard. As much as I love Life is Strange, I can't deny that the games are lacking in this category. Typically, a decision made in the short term feels impactful and is eventually expanded on later to show long-term consequences. The world waits for you to interact and move on, but in Lost Records, agency is at the forefront. There are no characters staring into space, repeating the same animations over and over again until you talk to them. Characters will prompt you outside of cutscenes, engage with other characters, do things on their own, make suggestions, and even respond organically to strange or dismissive behaviors, which I learned the hard way multiple times.
Is she talking to herself? Shh.
I audibly yelled out of surprise during certain moments, such as being called out for messing with objects while on the phone, or when I was suddenly interrupted when touching someone else's stuff. And when it comes to having players think on their feet, Lost Records moves beyond simple navigation puzzles by throwing the camcorder into the mix, having it become a lifeline in tense situations, recording evidence, acting as a tool, a flashlight, or as a useful indicator that creepy shit is going down. Everything just feels so much more fluid and responsive now. You're never forcibly placed on the beaten path. Realistic player movements, character expressions, upgraded models, fluid animations all work together to make the world feel more refined and dynamic, with emphasis especially being placed on the new dialogue system. Instead of just picking a choice, you can look around in the environments to find new responses. Your relationships can influence the way you interact with others, such as unlocking special options based on what you learn or how close you are to someone. Conversations flow naturally, whether Swann chooses to partake or not, and if you do speak up, characters may like or dislike what you have to say. I had some seriously regrettable moments because I clicked on an option too quickly without thinking of how it might make the other person feel, which made me much more aware of certain implications when it came to interacting with the cast of characters. And oh my god, guys, the characters. If you think you're attached to them now, just wait until you get into the game. One of the most exciting aspects of Lost Records is that it introduces players to a quartet dynamic for the very first time, which consists of 4 girls who, depending on your choices, can become best friends over the summer of 1995. We have our girls, Swann, Nora, Autumn, and Kat, who together form Bloom and Rage, a punk garage band that brings the group closer together. And let me just say, I fell in love with each of them over the course of tape 1. Swann, our main protagonist, is bursting with personality. She doesn't fall into the blank slate trap, which I really liked. She feels like an authentic teenager in the 90s, with her own dreams, ambitions, and insecurities. She wants what any other 16-year-old would: friends, independence, and belonging. Swann is very positive and optimistic, someone who is kind and tries to see the good in everyone, which made seeing her try to navigate tense situations especially heartbreaking. But she's also brave, thoughtful, and at times times the glue that keeps the group together. Swann's biggest dilemma is that she's moving away at the end of the summer. She's an introvert and she likes it that way, but being around the girls showed her that maybe there is a place for her here, that despite being used to being alone, she can be part of something as special as this. I loved how the memoirs gave insight into Swann's thoughts and how being part of the band helped her open up and feel more confident in herself. You can see it in the small details too, such as Swann choosing to place her bag next to Nora's after being quite hesitant before, or how she starts to feel better about taping what the girls get up to when she seemed more shy about her hobby in previous scenes, especially with the girls' encouragement. Autumn and Swann have some serious chemistry, and it's no wonder they get along so well. Autumn is very pragmatic and considerate of others, and it's clear that the other girls hold her in high regard. She's definitely someone you'd want by your side when things go left, and would likely be the first person to pull you out of the flames too. Nora, on the other hand, is a bit of a wild card, the rebel of the group, who will undoubtedly steal your heart. She's hilarious, like seriously. I can't remember the last time I laughed so much while playing a game.
Man, our biggest fan.
That doesn't even rhyme.
Doesn't like my rhyme.
Doesn't rhyme at all.
Swann had to sit, so she moved our shit. Autumn doesn't like the speed. What am I gonna do? Stop their time, but
Oh my god, bro. Nora's hilarious. She's so funny.
And loves getting a reaction out of her friends almost as much as she loves the camera. But as much as she likes to tease, she's fiercely protective of those she cares about, and her loyalty is a defining quality. Kat, on the other hand, was someone who I felt drawn to, not because she outshined the others, but because it's obvious that there's a lot going on beneath the surface. There were many times where Nora and Autumn were center stage, which made Kat's silence much more noticeable. But when she did chime in, it was when she had something to say. She's not afraid to speak her mind, and when Kat speaks, you listen. You can tell that she likely didn't have many opportunities to just be a kid before finding her new friends, and getting to mess around and goof off a little means a lot to her. She never feels standoffish, but it was in the quiet moments away from the noise that Kat really connected with Swann. She's very confident in her ideas, and can be quite intense when she wants to be. One of the things I was looking forward to most that I didn't see many people talking about was the relationships between the other girls and their responsiveness, and I'm very glad to say I'm not disappointed at all. The girls are all so distinct in their behaviors and interactions, and without going into too much detail for now, I had a lot of fun listening to Nora annoy the crap out of Autumn on purpose, and hearing them talk when they thought no one else was listening. A highlight for my playthrough was when I was given the opportunity to flirt back with Nora after she had gotten a kick out of teasing Swann in the earlier sections of the game. I decided to go for it, without realizing that Autumn and Kat would overhear and comment on it. The exchange felt so real that I actually got embarrassed in real life. These characters are just built different, y'all. The girls have their own feelings, humor, and beliefs, and they won't always agree with what you do or each other, and sometimes you'll need to draw a line. The relationships feel just as important as the choices in this game, and trust me when I say that choices do matter a lot. What you do, what you say, who you romance, even what you discover when exploring all influence the past and present. I feel like I've barely scratched the surface in this playthrough, and that's on purpose. Lost Records is a game that you need to go into without spoilers, but trust me that I have a lot to say, especially when it comes to the story. The narrative had me on the edge of my seat, and I loved every second of Tape 1. What we saw in the trailers was practically nothing in comparison to the depth and quality of the experience. It's one thing to see it and another to actually play it, and fans can expect some major surprises too, especially if you really immerse yourself in Swann's journey. Take your time. Everything just looks and feels so good, and if I'm being honest, it's everything that I've missed about Life is Strange. Yet there's so much more than that. As I mentioned before, Lost Records embraces its own identity. It feels like what once was, because that's Don't Nod. That's what happens when there's a passionate team behind a project. But my expectations were completely shattered and surpassed, and I can't wait for everyone else to see it too. I really hope that you guys love Velvet Cove and the girls as much as I do, and I plan on making so much more content on this game, including Easter eggs, I've already found some, theories, analysis videos, and breakdowns. But for now, I'll say this. This is a game from a team that loves its community. This is one for the fans. Do not sleep on this game, and I'd love to know your first impressions as well. Feel free to leave me a comment. Thank you to my channel members for your support. Thank you again to Don't Nod for this amazing opportunity. You guys are the best. And thank you so much for watching. Alright guys, I'm gonna go edit this so I can replay Tape 1. Bye bye. Also, I don't know who said this game was only 10 to 12 hours. I clocked over 25 hours in my first playthrough, so there's that.